In the year 2014, the NBA watched something completely wild happen. A player almost nobody cared about suddenly transformed into a global superstar in a single night. Because Kawhi Leonard wasn't a big name, when most teams looked at him, they just saw a quiet kid who could grab rebounds and happened to have ridiculously massive hands. Nobody saw a future Hall of Famer. In fact, he was so nervous during a pre-draft interview with the Phoenix Suns that he literally sweat completely through his suit, causing their front office to permanently cross his name off their draft board. And when the San Antonio Spurs finally traded for him, neither their diehard fans nor their legendary coach thought it was a franchise-altering move. But then came Game 3 of the 2014 NBA Finals. Kawhi dropped 29 points and completely shut down prime LeBron James, forcing him into a finals record 7 turnovers. In just one game, this absolute nobody became the hero who swung the entire championship. But the story of Kawhi Leonard doesn't end there, because the same player who shocked the world that night would one day face an opponent he simply couldn't outplay. So how did one single game create an NBA legend? And what tragic events followed that changed the course of basketball history? To find out, we have to go back to June 10th, 2014. The San Antonio Spurs were desperately seeking revenge. After failing to capitalize on a commanding 3-2 series lead in the previous year's finals, thanks to one of the most iconic clutch shots in league history, the title had slipped right through their fingers. Now, facing the Miami Heat again, San Antonio had already lost their home court advantage in Game 2. The Heat had the potential in Game 3 to grab the lead and essentially bury San Antonio in a hole no team had ever come back from. But their fourth option, a third-year player named Kawhi Leonard, had other plans. But wait, who exactly was Kawhi Leonard? Why was a fourth option playing such a vital role for a championship squad so early in his career? Let's quickly wind the clock back 3 years. Entering the NBA out of San Diego State, Kawhi was an incredibly raw prospect. Scouts loved his physical tools, a 7'3" wingspan and raw athletic power, but front offices doubted his offensive game. His intensely introverted nature made general managers question if he possessed the alpha mentality required to lead a franchise. But Chip Engeland, the Spurs' legendary shooting coach, was attending the draft combine in Chicago when he caught a 10-minute glimpse of Kawhi. Leonard, who was banned from scrimmaging due to his lottery projection, loved the game so much that he snuck onto the court just to hoop. That quiet obsession told Chip everything he needed to know. However, Spurs head coach Greg Popovich simply viewed the 20-year-old as a big body who could rebound. Nothing more. Yet, knowing their legendary core of Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker was aging rapidly, the front office made a massive gamble. They traded their rising guard George Hill to the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Kawhi. It was a decision that actively angered Spurs fans, as the franchise rarely took such massive draft day risks. But Popovich got to work molding his new rookie. To everyone's surprise except Chip Engeland, Kawhi hit the ground running. Before anyone knew it, he was in the starting lineup, helping guide them to the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But it was in that series where his severe offensive limitations were exposed. He scored 18 points in Game 2, collapsed with just 2 points in the next, and shot a miserable 27% as the Thunder eliminated the Spurs in 6 games. Popovich knew he had to turn Kawhi into a defensive specialist, a Bruce Bowen on steroids. But despite his growth, San Antonio lacked the discipline to finish the job in 2013. Which brings us right back to June 10th, 2014. Having averaged just 9 points in the first 2 finals matchups, San Antonio knew they couldn't stop Miami's three-peat dreams without Kawhi scoring. And Kawhi delivered. He nearly matched his total series points in a single quarter and kept his foot on the gas. By halftime, the Spurs had set an NBA record for shooting efficiency. But the craziest part wasn't his offense. While dropping 29 points, he was simultaneously suffocating LeBron James on the defensive end. The Spurs took a 2-1 series lead and never looked back. At just 22 years old, Kawhi was crowned Finals MVP, ending the Miami Heat dynasty. But could the Spurs who had been winning titles since 1999, finally defend their crown. As the 2015 season progressed, injuries battered the roster. It wasn't until 49 games into the season that they were fully healthy. More importantly, Coach Pop had made a massive shift. He handed the keys of the entire offense to Kawhi, who had just won Defensive Player of the Year. The transition wasn't smooth. In the first round of the playoffs against the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi got his first real test as a franchise player. On April 24th, the 23-year-old did absolutely everything, scoring a career high and propelling his squad to a series lead. But then the cracks showed. In a do-or-die Game 7, with the season on the line, Kawhi struggled completely. He shot 25% from the field, missing crucial shots. Chris Paul hit a dagger with 1 second left, and Kawhi's meager 13 points weren't enough to save San Antonio. Angered by his failure and realizing the entire franchise now rested on his shoulders, Kawhi locked himself in the gym. He returned for the 2016 season with a completely rebuilt lethal jump shot. He dropped 32 points on opening night, won his second straight Defensive Player of the Year award, and finished second in MVP voting while leading the Spurs to a 61-win season. But in the second round, they met Kevin Durant and the Thunder. Despite Kawhi dropping 31 points and 11 rebounds in Game 3, Durant went nuclear, scoring 41 and 37 points to eliminate San Antonio again. Yet, Kawhi had clearly leveled up. He was no longer just a defender, he was the game's ultimate two-way cyborg. Following Tim Duncan's retirement, the 2017 season was completely in the hands of the Claw. He went absolutely nuclear, dropping 30 or more points 26 times. In the playoffs, he dismantled the Memphis Grizzlies with a 43-point masterpiece. But during the second round against the Houston Rockets, tragedy struck. Tony Parker suffered a season-ending quad injury, and Kawhi severely injured his ankle. Despite the injuries, the Spurs advanced to face the heavily favored Golden State Warriors, who had just added Kevin Durant. Knowing this was his best shot at a second ring, a battered Kawhi suited up for Game 1. And he was completely unstoppable. He guided his underdog Spurs to a massive 23-point lead early in the third quarter. The Warriors had absolutely no answer, until one controversial closeout on his injured ankle ended his playoffs, allowing Golden State to sweep the series. Everyone assumed Kawhi would return fully healthy the next year to reclaim his throne. But as the 2018 season began, Kawhi was missing. Weeks turned into months. The diagnosis was a mysterious, degenerative quad injury. The media attacked him, his own teammates questioned the severity of his injury in closed-door meetings, and the once unbreakable San Antonio culture completely fractured. After playing just 9 games all season, Kawhi demanded a trade. The Spurs shipped him to the Toronto Raptors in exchange for DeMar DeRozan. It was a massive gamble by Raptors GM Masai Ujiri. Kawhi's medical reports were grim, allegedly detailing a terminal, degenerative condition with no cure. The Raptors implemented aggressive load management, sitting him out of back-to-back games to preserve his body for a single championship run. And Kawhi delivered historic perfection. In the second round against the Philadelphia 76ers, despite facing a 2-1 deficit, Kawhi went into prime Michael Jordan mode. In a Game 7 win-or-go-home scenario, Kawhi took the final shot, a fading baseline jumper that bounced 4 agonizing times before dropping through the net, crushing Philadelphia. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Toronto fell behind 2-0 against League MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Head coach Nick Nurse made the ultimate adjustment, placing Kawhi directly on Giannis. Kawhi completely erased the Greek Freak, scoring 36 points in Game 3 and leading Toronto to 4 straight victories to reach their first ever NBA Finals. Waiting for them was the Golden State dynasty. Despite Kawhi playing through severe chronic pain, the Raptors capitalized on catastrophic injuries to Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. With Kawhi dropping consistent 30-point masterpieces, he brought the Larry O'Brien Trophy to Canada, cemented his legacy, and then walked away in free agency. Signing with the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi shifted the entire balance of the NBA. The Clippers became immediate title favorites, with Patrick Beverley famously claiming the next 5 years belonged to them. But this is where one of the most tragic falls from grace in NBA history truly began. In the 2020 playoffs inside the Orlando bubble, the Clippers built a 3-1 series lead against the Denver Nuggets. But in a shocking collapse, Los Angeles blew double-digit leads in consecutive games. On September 15th, in a decisive Game 7, both Kawhi and Paul George completely choked. Kawhi scored just 14 points, and the Clippers became the first team to blow back-to-back 3-1 leads in the same postseason. The Claw took ownership and got back to work. In the 2021 playoffs, facing a dangerous Dallas Mavericks team, the Clippers fell behind 3-2. Facing elimination in Game 6, Kawhi put together a masterpiece, matching his playoff career high of 45 points to save the season, and followed it up with a Game 7 victory. But just days later, during the second round against the Utah Jazz, the final devastating blow was dealt. Kawhi tore his ACL. He missed the entire following season. Since that day, the story of Kawhi Leonard has been a brutal, heartbreaking cycle. He returned looking like a superstar in the 2023 playoffs, dropping 38 and 31 points against the Phoenix Suns, only to suffer a torn meniscus. In 2024, chronic knee inflammation kept him on the sidelines as the Mavericks eliminated his team once again. Since moving to Los Angeles, his degenerative condition has limited him to playing in just 68% of their games. When fully healthy, Kawhi Leonard is arguably the greatest two-way player in the history of the sport. A silent assassin who dismantled LeBron, conquered the Warriors, and broke the Bucks. We don't know if a medical miracle is waiting for him or if we have already seen the last of his prime. But the tragic truth remains. Kawhi Leonard didn't lose to the NBA. The only opponent that could stop him was his own body. It is absolute poetic justice when the world writes you off as a quiet nobody, only for you to dismantle their entire reality. If you love deep, high-impact cinematic sports breakdowns that expose the raw truth behind the game, you are at the right place. Welcome to the Hoop Docs. Drop your thoughts on Kawhi below, hit that subscribe button, and don't miss our next definitive documentary dropping right now.